Brett Okamoto with ESPN alongside UFC welterweight Stephen Thompson, who just defeated Vicente Luque at UFC 244 at Madison Square Garden in a really, really fun fight. It was a fun fight, pleasure for me to watch. What was it like being in that type of fight, stand-up fight?
You know what? It's awesome. I mean, knowing the fact that, my last fight I ended up getting knocked out. This fight I took some shots, gave me some confidence, that, hey, I can still take a shot and keep on coming forward. It's definitely a tough opponent. Injured both my hands trying to put this guy away. Definitely the toughest guy I've ever had to face in the octagon.
In terms of how technical you thought the bout would be, how was it compared to your expectations going in?
You know what? I thought he was going to come forward a little bit more, be a little bit more aggressive, and then I could counter him off that way. But knowing that he was pressuring forward a little bit, I knew that I had to kind of go to him a little bit to get him to throw, and me trying to counter that throw. So it was basically fight of the feints. He was kind of feinting a little bit. I was feinting a little bit, threw a lot of leg kicks, but just stayed calm and picked my shots.
I hear this saying all the time that if you're thinking when you're out there fighting, that's a bad sign. You don't want to be thinking. But you are such a guy who makes adjustments through the fight. Can you talk about that? How I think most of the success he had was early on, and then you started to run away with it. What adjustments did you make, and how did you figure them out as the fight went on?
It's kind of hard to believe, but I was listening to my coaches. When I'm out there, I've kind of trained myself to listen to my coaches and to listen to my opponent's coaches as well. So I'm able to kind of figure out, what my opponent's going to do at the same time, what my coaches are telling me to do. So I know I wanted to kind of go out there. I was a little hesitant, like you said. I just came off of a knockout loss, so I didn't want to rush in there and get caught. So I took my time in the first round. After finding out, he was going to throw a lot of leg kicks, and trying to set me up with his right hand and left hook. Kind of figured that out and went from there.
Before the fight, you get a lot of questions about you got knocked out in your last fight. You haven't won. We're used to seeing you win fights, and you've been struggling a little bit in your last 5. And you're such a positive guy. You play him off. But when you're walking out to the octagon, is any of that going through your mind? That any kind of self-doubt whatsoever, just because of all the questions that you've been asked over the course of the week?
You know what? Not at all. Of course, everything's going through your head when you're walking out. I mean, it really is, and it's very difficult to kind of keep those negative thoughts out of your head. But I managed to do it. Something pops in there, I kind of push it out with something positive. Like, sometimes the thing pops in my head, I'm like, this dude's gonna knock you out. And when I do is I just fill it with something positive. Thinking about strategy, things like that. Yeah. But yeah, man, I'm just excited to be back out there and let the fans and the UFC know that I'm still in this division.
You've been in there with the likes of Tyron Woodley, Darren Till. Vicente Luque, out of the 10 wins I think he has in the UFC, if I'm getting this right, 9 of them have been knockouts. How was his power compared to some of the other welterweights?
He was tough, man. Let me tell you, got some power in his hands for sure. He hit me with a few shots. I felt like he sent me flying. But, staying composed when you're out there, staying calm has to do a lot with how you perform out there. I've seen some of these fighters out there today staying calm, picking their shots, ended up knocking their opponent out. I didn't get the finish, but I got the W, and that's good enough for me.
I've heard you say a couple times that you've been inspired by how quickly Jorge Masvidal has just been able to rise. In his mid-30s, now all of a sudden he's in this big main event. How much of a jump do you think this is, beating a guy like Luque for you?
He's on a 6-fight winning streak. I'd probably move up just a little bit. I didn't come out there and get a spectacular finish like I would like. And, George Masvidal finished 2 guys and top-level guys his last 2 fights. So I know it's going to take some time, but I'm not giving up on it. I'm getting faster. I'm getting stronger every day. I'll be 37 in February, but I don't feel it at all. I feel like I'm in my 20s. So.
You fought the best of the best in this division. However, you haven't fought the 2 guys at the very, very top, Colby and Usman. So those are 2 brand new fights for you. Who do you think wins that fight between those 2 in December, and how do you think you match up with either one of them?
Both guys, very tough opponents and very similar opponents. I got my man Kamaru Usman on this one. You got the guy, Kamaru Usman's he's got a good head on his shoulders, he's got a positive attitude, he's a good family man. And then you got the guy that everybody loves to hate, which is Colby Covington. But that said, they're both very similar fighters, very high-level wrestlers. I think my man Usman's going to finish it, and it's going to be finished from a striking standpoint. Both guys, I think, are good enough to keep the fight standing, so they're going to be forced to actually have to duke it out on their feet.
Yeah. Really fun night, man. I think the only thing we were missing was Max Holloway opening the cage door for you.
I know, dude. He was telling me afterward or before the fight, he was like, man, I wanted the UFC to let me open the cage for you, and they wouldn't let it happen. I'm like, you know what? It's all right, man. Maybe one of these days.
Yeah, maybe next time. There'll be more down the road,
exactly.
Right? Congratulations on a great night, Stephen. Thank you for the time.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download the ESPN app, and for live streaming and special content, subscribe to ESPN+.